Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Andre and I'm your bookworm. And as you can see, because I'm holding the mic, today is not going to be a book review, and we're going to be talking about the second episode of Lord of the Mysteries, the anime adaptation. So for the ones that don't know, I've done one video where I reviewed the first episode of this new anime that is an adaptation of a web novel I've been reading and reviewing here on the channel called Lord of the Mysteries, written by Cuttlefish That Loves Diving. And so far it's been good. This second episode, there's a few more things to talk about. I will get onto it, but just before we get into it, just a brief summary before, if you want to check the review of the first episode or of the web novel because you're curious, just follow the thumbnails, the cards up top, and you'll be guided to it, and then you can come back. But so what is Lord of the Mysteries? This is a fantasy, urban fantasy, Victorian, steampunk, all of these together. And we follow Klein Moretti, we follow Min Ziguo, who is a Chinese netizen, and he is transmigrated into this fantastical world, into the body of Klein Moretti. And he basically has to understand the world and try to go back to his original world. But of course, there's a lot of things going on, and in this second episode we get introduced to a lot of these things, which is good because this is the great thing about Lord of the Mysteries, the world building. So let's get onto it, starting from the start of the episode. So with this second episode, we start with Klein going into the Nighthawk's office, and right from the start I thought it was a bit weird. This episode, I think in general, and this I'll talk more in the end, but in general, I didn't think this episode was as strong as the first one. Starting with this, the Nighthawks, he goes into a tavern in whatever to understand or find out where the Nighthawks are. And in my view, I don't know if I interpreted this wrong, but I thought that the office of the Nighthawks was completely separate from this tavern. It was just like a normal building with an office in it, and people would go there because it's not a mercenary, but a detective almost kind of office where you can go and request their services. So to be in this secret lair, almost that you have to have a passcode to get in, I mean, you would still need that, but that's only if you want to go into the Beyonder side of the Nighthawks. If you just want the normal jobs, you would go there. So I thought that was a bit weird. And then because of that, since the Nighthawks office is already a separate thing, it became very like mystery lair or hidden lair, supervillain or superhero type of thing, where suddenly the doors are shifting and it's a lot more weird compared to what I had in my mind. In my mind it was just like a normal office. Eventually there's some stairs that lead into the underground where there's a lot of corridors, kind of like what they show in the anime. So that second part I thought it was better, but the first part a bit weird. Not sure I enjoyed it thoroughly. But we get introduced to a couple characters like the secretary, which if you've seen my review of the first volume, you know I didn't like how she started off. But I think here they didn't give her as much attention, which is okay. I don't think she portrays a lot in the first volume. I don't know if she shows up later on. So far she hasn't. But yeah, I didn't think it was bad. It was just, okay, she's there. I get it. We also get introduced to Old Neil, who, if you've read the web novel, you know how important this character will be. And Old Neil also leads us to a few other things, but I'll get there. First, just want to mention another thing that I wasn't very sure it was part of what it should be, or if I misread when I was reading the web novel. But when the Captain Dunsmith gives a candle to light to Klein so that he can light a candle for all those that died because they lost control, it gives the sense that everyone can lose control if you join the Nighthawks, which is not necessarily true. Only if you become a Beyonder will you have the possibility of losing control. And I don't think they clarify that very well. So I wonder if that was on purpose or if that will play a role longer ahead when a few episodes. I don't want to reveal too much, even though there will be spoilers, but the spoilers that I want to mention are just the spoilers of these episodes, not really of what's gonna happen after. But so going back to Old Neil, we get to introduce to him, we see his alchemy room, and then two big things happen. One of them is the Emperor Rozel's diary. We understand that Klein can read it and he can get all the secrets that exist from that extracted, and some of them are about the sequence of potions, which is the thing we get introduced in this episode mostly, where Klein has to decide to drink one of four potions and therefore determine his sequence or determine his pathway. He chooses to drink the seer potion, which is a really good one. I don't think it's the one I would drink, but nonetheless, I mean, the powers so far in the web novel are pretty cool as he gets to sequence 7. So, not a bad choice. I want to see how those powers will be revealed towards the end of this season. But the other thing that happens is suddenly he has this cogitation or spirituality view. And I think that was well done. It was well explained, I think, how he has to control. I think it was a bit too epic in the sense that he was almost destroying the whole thing. It shouldn't be that strong. I mean, he only drank the sequence 9, but it's giving the sense that he is a lot more powerful than he should be, which in the web novel I didn't get that sense. For me, he is just like any other person. He is just smart and uses his brains to get out of situations or to be able to manipulate people so to get what he wants, but he's not extraordinary, let's say. And then after that, we kind of jump right away to him going outside, trying to go around places where he's been to try and rejig Klein Moretti's memory from when he almost unalived himself. And so he goes around and suddenly he is being requested for a mission. And this part, I didn't really enjoy it because it was very quickly. It was a big jump. In the web novel, a lot of things happen in the sense that we get a sense that time is passing, that he is getting used to his role in the Nighthawks. He's trying to understand his powers. He's also just practicing shooting and practicing everything like history and learning more about alchemy and mysticism, all of it. So not having all of this felt very, very sudden that he is getting requested for a mission. But anyways, we go with Leonard and Klein to see this kid that has been kidnapped. And Klein uses the dowsing rod, which was well done. I think it was, again, a bit more epic, but this might just be the anime media because they always try to exaggerate things. Because in my head, when he was doing the cane rodding or the dowsing rod, I was just imagining the cane falling in the direction that needed to go. So none of those electric beams happening. But anyway, that's just a small thing to pick on. I think it's much worse the jumps that keep happening. But anyways, we get to the place where the kid has been kidnapped, and then we see this sequence of action where Leonard, who is a midnight poet, can use his powers, and we see a bit more of what he can do, which was cool, it was good, and we also see what happens if Beyonders lose control, which is the other side that we hadn't seen very well with. So these two things, very well done. The animation was good. I enjoyed it. I'm very keen to see more action sequences because it does seem like the anime excels at that part. Another small thing that I want to mention is that Leonard's powers seem just a tiny bit overpowered in the sense that he knew how to do like combat pretty well, and he was very, very skilled. I mean, he does learn that. We had that background in the web novel, but in this anime, we don't really know that he has been trained for that. So, not really sure about that part yet. But then after that, we see Klein returning home and then dreaming about the diary of the Antigonus family to be in that house, and the episode kind of ends there. But this is also the first episode where we see a post-credit scene, and that scene is just Klein bringing his siblings into this new house where they're gonna live because he is being paid more, and therefore they suddenly went from the low social class to a medium social class, and they can afford that. And that was a nice note to end the episode, although again it did feel a bit disjointed because we were finishing the episode with that, and suddenly it's this happy scene and there's really no connection of how they got there. So I think this might be a problem that will happen with this anime where we just see these sudden jumps and people just have to link with their imagination what happened. Unless you've read the web novel, then you will know what's missing in those gaps. So yeah, I think overall that is my main criticism for this episode. It's still good. I still enjoyed it. I was still entertained, especially with the action scene. I am still curious to see what's going to happen next. And I think they will probably try to fit the whole volume 1 into one season. I'm not sure how many episodes the season will have. I'm gonna guess 10, and the next one only starts next, or at the end of this week, if I'm not mistaken. So there's gonna be a bigger gap between my review of episode 3 compared to between episode 1 and 2. Just take that into account. And yeah, I'm curious to see what the next episodes will bring, but comment down below, what didn't you like in this episode, or did you think this episode was just as good as the first one? I want to know those opinions. And yeah, comment down below. And if you're new, don't forget, subscribe, like the content, and I shall be seeing you on Thursdays and Sundays, unless these random videos shows up with more content, but you'll know. Okay, see ya.